Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
On our media line, Judy Yarborough, city marketer for Reidsville. Hey, Judy, how are you?
I'm well. Hope you are.
I'm doing great, thanks. Well, the word for today is census. So let's jump right in. Bring us up to date. Where are we in all of this?
Well, we have been working on this 2020 census since 2018.
Yeah.
So I know people probably wonder why you've been involved in it that long, but we were really trying to prepare our citizens in Reidsville to get their census filled out because of how important it is for not only our city, but for our county as well.
And really, the city of Reidsville led the way with this. Maybe some others weren't doing their job on this, but Reidsville's been on it for, like you said, about 2 years.
Yeah, we have been. We really, again, just wanted people to realize how important these figures are. It's 12 questions, and they are mightily important 12 questions based on how much money cities and counties receive from federal government annually. It's around $675 billion that's distributed based on the results of this census.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's just very, very important, and we wanted our citizens to know how important it was. And we did find that there were not a lot of other communities that were pushing this census the way that we wanted to do it, so we just kind of led the charge on that. Mm-hmm. And we did include county organizations in it, like the Rockingham County Partnership for Children, ADTS, the hospital, many other organizations that, touch the whole county, and so that they could help us get the word out as well.
Sure, yeah. And you did some advertising on this and really promoting it, so I commend you and Team Reidsville. Why is this census so important for Team Reidsville?
Well, it's done once a decade, and that's when the census has been going on since Bible times. There's always been a census,
yeah.
So it's just an important way to count every resident. And the resident does not have to be a citizen of the United States. One of the things that's very important is we just need to know how many people we are serving in every community, and all this information is, I can't say this enough, is extremely confidential. The information is not, by law, cannot be given to anyone else, especially not ICE agencies or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, people can be assured that filling out this census is not going to cause them to be deported. Mm-hmm. So it's just very important. But, the reason it is so important is because those funds come back to the city and the county to support the states and communities, and it's, again, based on your total population and the breakdowns of the population by sex, age, race, and other factors. And so it's just so important. It's $675 billion, like I said, and it's dispersed based on your population. That's why it is so important to know how many people are in your community. And the higher your population, the higher amount you receive. And it's one of the most reliable pictures of our communities and is vital in planning the future services like schools, streets, utilities, hospitals, clinics, shopping, and so much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really, the census data brings the tax dollars right back home, too.
It does. So more than $1,600 per person in federal aid and $205 in state aid are distributed annually based on the census count. So that includes Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Head Start, foster care, the lunch program in our schools, highway planning, construction. So it's just, it really does affect a lot in your community.
Mm-hmm. It certainly does on many different levels. Let's talk about, and you've touched on that already, but the impact of the census locally. A little bit more about that, Judy.
Well, one of the things is it does provide the basis for reappropriating congressional seats and redistricting, which I think is very interesting. And the local government uses that to ensure public safety, plan new schools and hospitals. Real estate developers and city planners use the census to plan homes and improve neighborhoods. And, the Donna in our GIS department is constantly filling out these census forms. It's not just once every 10 years. She does, I think she told me, quarterly reports to the census. And that covers things like people that are located in nursing homes, because those people are not counted as individual, residents. They are, but it's through the nursing homes, not, they're not filling out the census themselves.
Right.
So it's programs that support the rural areas, and certainly Reidsville is considered rural. Most of Rockingham County is. It's programs to prevent child abuse, rural housing, protection and advocacy agencies, especially for abused individuals. It's programs for the aging and prevention of elder abuse, neglect, medical assistance program, the lunch program, like I said, Section 8 housing. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Yeah. Well, you've shared that list with me, and you're right. You've barely scratched the surface here, but it covers so many areas: education and mental health services and senior programs and disabled veterans outreach program. Wow. So I think we get the idea. It is so very important that everyone certainly participate and fill out their census. And I'm wondering, too, you had a little comment here about something a city council member said. Could you share that with us?
Yes, he summed it up very nicely. He said, would you refuse to improve your quality of life? Would you refuse to improve the nutrition programs in our schools, help needy families in our community, help provide health care for our youth and elderly? If you fail to fill the 2020 census out, everybody suffers.
Oh, yeah. Well said. What kind of response rates do we have? I know we've talked about this before, but bring us current.
Well, so, you can go on the 2020 census response rate, and you can get the national response rate, the North Carolina response rate, and then you can zone it right down to Reidsville. You can zone it down to the census tracts within the city. All of our tracts are doing really, really well. We've got one tract that's running a little behind, and we're going to be working on trying to get that tract more up to speed. But right now, the North Carolina response rate for filling out the census, and remember, it started April 1, and of course, they got, waylaid with the COVID-19 in that, normally they would be doing door-to-door, knocking on doors, asking people if they filled the survey out, and if they haven't, then, how to get them to fill the census out. But, because of COVID-19, that's gotten put behind. I do understand that's getting ready to get started again, but the North Carolina response rate is 56.4. Reidsville is at 57.4, so we're a percent ahead right now, and we have been ahead throughout the race, so to speak. We are, for North Carolina, Rockingham County, as of last week, I haven't checked this week, was 24th in the state for filling out the census. So that's great.
Yeah, okay. All righty. And you're talking about we can even go on that site and find it just in the neighborhoods. That's kind of interesting.
It is very interesting. And you can break that track right down to the streets in those neighborhoods. So one of the tracks that we're, really concentrating on right now is track 412. It's got a lower response rate over other areas of the city, and that area does include some areas that are outside the city limits, and of course we can't control that, but we really want the people that are within the city limits, to really concentrate on get it filled out. And that's some of the areas, the northern section of our city, like around Lawsonville Avenue, Market Street, and some Main Street areas.
Okay. All righty. Well, for those listening and they have just kind of laid this aside, they haven't done it, tell us how we respond to the 2020 census.
Okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can do it. This year, of course, is the first year they've done it that you can do it online. You should have received a census form in the mail. If you chose not to fill out the paper form itself, then there was a code on there, a barcode, and you just go right on to the 2020 census page online, and you can put in those numbers that are in your barcode, or you can actually scan it, and it will pop you right into the question so you can do it online. If you don't have access to a computer, you can certainly do the paper form and mail it in. And like I said a little bit ago, I think they're getting ready to start the door-to-door again in the very near future.
Mm-hmm. So maybe see those coming around the neighborhood soon.
Exactly. You can also go online on by phone. So there is a number that you can call to fill it out as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned to you before. I did mine online. It was very easy. And you've told us there are only a dozen questions. And let's reiterate this. This is extremely confidential, not shared with anyone.
That is correct. It is. It is not shared with anyone. And it doesn't ask you majorly personal questions, I didn't think. It's just asking you who's in your household. Mm-hmm. What are the ages of the people in your household? Have they lived there for X amount of time? I mean, it doesn't ask you your income. It doesn't ask you, a whole lot of invasive information as far as I was concerned.
No, well, I agree. Yeah. It has nothing all to do with your political party affiliation. It doesn't ask your social security number or it's not so it was I was comfortable with it for sure. Okay. All righty. So it is extremely important and valuable as this money comes back into the county and our communities and in Reidsville that you do your census. Any closing thoughts, Judy?
Well, one thing I do want to reiterate to people is if someone was to call you and ask you and tell you they were from the Census Bureau and they want your Social Security number, they're looking for money or donations, anything on behalf of a political party, your bank or credit card accounts, you don't answer those questions because that's a scam.
Red flag.
And that needs to be reported. Mm-hmm. So you need to be very careful about that. You could be the target or a victim of the scam.
Okay. All righty. So we'll get it done if we haven't done it. And the deadline is what?
Well, the census goes to August. Mm-hmm. Our census rate of return last year was right at 65%. We certainly want to go over that. We're shooting for 80% this year. We're well on our way. We've got certain sections of our census tract that are already at 66%. But we want the whole area to really shoot to get this done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty. Judy, thank you for your time, and Team Reidsville for your really great efforts in making sure that everyone knows how important the census is. I appreciate it.
You are more than welcome, and thank you, Mike, for letting us talk about it.
Okay. Have a good week. Talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's Judy Yarborough. She is city marketer for Reidsville, very busy in so many areas for the city. And let me end up by directing you to one of their websites for a lot of good information, and that's riseup reidsville.com.